One CGS has revealed what the next Il2 series title will be, and it's going to be the Korean War. And I have to say, I was pretty disappointed at first when they announced what was next for the series. But once more details began to come out, and the first dev videos and screenshots started to come out, I've started to become more and more excited for this new chapter in the series. The improvements and upgrades that they've shown are truly impressive. And maybe while it's not Zeros and Wildcats dueling over aircraft carriers like some of us had hoped, I honestly don't care. I'm ready for IL-2 Korea. First off, what planes are going to be included? They are the F-86A Sabre, the MiG-15 BIS, the F-80C Shooting Star, the LA-11 Fang, the IL-10 Sturmovik, the F-51D Mustang. There is also going to be an 8th, as of yet unannounced aircraft that is rumored to be the F-4U Corsair, though they haven't posted any renderings or screenshots of it. The C-47B, the Li-2T, the Tu-2, and the B-29 Superfortress will also be included as AI-only aircraft. The Korean map will stretch 440 by 440 kilometers and will include mountain reservoirs and dams, navigable tunnels, and a terrain resolution 4 times higher than IL-2 Great Battles, resulting in better-looking mountains and cliffs. During DevBlog video episode 24, the developers were showing their new map development tool, which gives us some really cool insights on how the map is being crafted for the game. And the new editor they have created appears to be really powerful, with the ability to directly edit the height of the terrain, easily paint on forests and even entire cities, and craft roads, rivers, and coastlines much easier than they have been able to previously. If you haven't seen that devlog video, I highly recommend it as it has some really cool insights. Also shown in that video is how they are setting up airfields to have taxiway networks programmed, so AI will now be able to much more seamlessly taxi around airfields, and you will even be able to spawn in hangars and loading pits to begin your mission. They also briefly mentioned air traffic control will have the ability to direct you around and taxi around the airfields, which I find very interesting. But perhaps the biggest upgrade over the previous title is going to be PBR, or physical-based rendering, which will result in much more realistic lighting and graphical detail overall. A better landscape decal system, which means now runways can exist on uneven terrain, transparent river and seawater, meaning you can see parts of watercraft under the surface and potentially entire objects like maybe submarines under the water, better night lighting with runway and city lights, 3D visualization of railroad tracks and crossings, 3D bomb craters can make runways unusable and can even derail trains. And there's also going to be telegraph poles and wires on the map. Another big improvement will be the career system. It was already pretty good in Great Battles, but now it's going to be even more epic. Now instead of just having an auto-generated mission created for you to fly, now you will have to manage an entire squadron yourself, including creating flights and making sure you have enough fuel, weapons, pilots, and planes to fly the missions you set up. You'll have much more control on how your career will play out. Another really cool feature that I personally can't wait for is now you can exit your aircraft and explore the world on foot, and then remount your aircraft and fly again. This adds so much to the immersion and role-playing aspect of the game. It might seem kind of silly and pointless to some, but I personally love this feature. Also, IL-2 Korea will now have infantry squads. We will have US, Korean, and Chinese infantry squads, with each nation having a rifle, assault, and machine gun squad. These will fire at targets, move around, and can die independently, and they can also accompany tank assaults. This goes well with being able to get out and walk around, because imagine you get shot down and bail out behind enemy lines, and you end up having to run from enemy soldiers. IL-2 Korea will have drop tanks. In IL-2 Great Battles, the devs experimented with drop tanks on the Bf-109G6, but couldn't get them to work right on all the aircraft. So they're going to implement them into IL-2 Korea instead. The Korean map will now include real tunnels that will allow trucks and trains, and maybe even aircraft, to move through. Ground vehicles will now have better damage simulation with parts that can break off, visible bullet holes, and now trucks can tip over, spilling their cargo. And they can also crash into trees and telephone poles. Artillery and mortars will actually have crews that will load their guns after firing, and you will be able to kill them individually, affecting the efficiency of their mortar or gun. IL-2 Korea will include an even better damage model for the planes, with even more in-depth system simulations, including hydraulic failures with landing gear dropping but failing to lock down, resulting in them collapsing on landing. It will also include tires that deform under the weight of the aircraft and can also burst due to combat damage or hard landings. Overall, we have a lot to look forward to for IL-2 Korea. As you can see, the list of improvements already looks really impressive. My only gripe is the same gripe I've always had with 1C Studios, and that is the exclusion of player-controllable multi-engine bombers. I can understand why a flyable B-29 is a bit much. As others have already mentioned, since the Korea map obviously doesn't include any part of Japan, which is where B-29s were based and flew missions over Korea from at this time, there really isn't a good place to start a B-29 mission, and if you're like me, you can't stand air starts. But that aside, I think it's silly that the Tu-2 won't be flyable. I also think it's silly that the American side doesn't have a multi-engine attack aircraft like the B-26, for example. But that leads us on to what else is planned for IL-2 Korea in the future. They say they plan to do carrier ops with Navy jets in a future expansion. They also frequently state that if the Pacific would be the next goal after IL-2 Korea, which makes sense why they would want to develop carrier ops for Korea first. They also mention they would like to have a flyable Catalina flying boat for the Pacific someday, so I guess there's that for us bomber peeps to look forward to. And who knows, maybe a future expansion will add an early Skyraider or an F-82 twin Mustang. We'll have to wait and see. As for a release date for Korea, the devs have not officially announced a release date yet, but rumor is early access may start in the fall of 2025, but that remains to be seen. Whenever it does go into early access, I'll be there, day one.